According to the National Missing and Unidentified Persons System, there are approximately 90,000 missing persons in the United States at any given time. With the advancement of modern detective work and advanced scientific methods, such as genealogy testing, the vast majority of missing person cases end up being solved today. Even so, sometimes investigators just aren't able to provide enough conclusive evidence to put the pieces together on some of these cases, and they go unsolved. There have been some devastating, very suspicious missing persons cases in recent times that definitely fall into this category. Throughout history, though, all around the world, certain missing person cases have left investigators and families struggling to find answers. When there is little evidence to no evidence and no eyewitnesses, missing persons cases tragically end up being closed and unsolved. Come with us as we walk through some of the most puzzling and tragic missing persons cases throughout history all around the globe. Disagreements between parents who are no longer together can quickly explode, exposing children to the emotional damage in the process. These fights are often fueled by both parents' belief that they are correct in how they want to raise their child, making them extremely difficult to resolve mutually. In extreme cases, these disagreements can result in one parent taking the law into his or her own hands and kidnapping the child. These are 5 notable parent kidnapping cases throughout history. Brandy was abducted from her family's home in San Bernardino, California, on March 30th, 1977, with her younger half-sister, Tiffany Wise. Their mother, Beverly Wise, was discovered stabbed to death inside their residence. The girl's 8-month-old sister was left behind, unharmed. Brandy's father was Roy Summers, Beverly's ex-husband. Witnesses reported seeing a Caucasian male outside the family's home that day, putting Tiffany into a gold Camaro. They did not see Brandy. The man had short reddish-brown hair and wore a black leather jacket. The man resembled Roy. Authorities spoke to him during the week after Beverly's murder and did not believe he was involved in the case. However, subsequent events changed their minds. After Beverly's murder, there were unconfirmed sightings of the children and Roy in Idaho, Utah, Nevada, and again in Utah. Roy had been married 7 times and had a long history of violent behavior towards his wives. He was located in Redmond, Oregon in November 1979 and arrested, and photographs of Brandy and Tiffany, as well as some of the girls' belongings, were found in his home. In early January 1980, after Roy's arrest, the girls may have been sighted in California. In early 1980, authorities arrested Juanita Tiny Awikira and charged her with second-degree kidnapping in the girls' cases. They believe she helped Roy hide them by keeping the girls in her daycare center. She admitted she had cared for Brandy and Tiffany, but said she didn't know who the girls were or that they were missing. In February 1980, Lee Allen Kastner was charged with being an accessory to Beverly's murder and the kidnappings. The girls were reportedly seen in his care in Nevada County, California. Roy's sister, Karen Carino, was arrested in Virginia in 1979 and charged as an accessory, because Roy, Tiffany, and Brandy were allegedly seen at her home in 1979 after Beverly's murder. The outcome of these charges is unknown. At his trial for the October 1979 incident, Roy admitted that he had choked his wife but claimed he had done it in self-defense during an argument. He was convicted of second-degree assault but acquitted of attempted murder. The charges related to the November incident were dropped. After serving a year in jail, he was transferred to California to stand trial for Beverly's murder and Brandy and Tiffany's abductions. However, he never was brought to trial. Key witnesses against him had been hypnotized to improve their memories, and the state had passed laws that disallowed testimony gained through hypnosis. Brandy called her grandmother Donna in 1977. She had a petite stature at the time of her abduction. She and Tiffany were approximately the same size. Although there was a 3-year age difference between them, Tiffany and Brandy's whereabouts remain unknown. The 1984 disappearance of Deborah Sanders. Deborah was abducted by her non-custodial father from her mother's home in Chicago. Her father allowed her to speak to her mother on the phone a few days after the kidnapping, and that was the last time anyone has heard from her. Deborah was initially abducted by her non-custodial father, Odell Shepard, from her residence in Chicago, Illinois, on September 24, 1984. Deborah's mother, Norelle Sanders, told authorities that Shepard called her and said he was going to take Deborah and Norelle and would never see her again. He subsequently arrived at Norelle's home and proceeded to argue and struggle with Norelle over Deborah. He then struck Norelle several times, grabbed the child, and left the home. The couple had never married and they weren't living together in 1984. Norelle stated when she notified the police, but they were reluctant to take action because the law was unclear about her custodial rights as an unmarried mother. Deborah was last seen 2 weeks after her abduction, when her father took her to a family member's funeral in Memphis, Tennessee. A photo of Odell is posted with the case summary. On October the 1st, Shepard called Norelle again and threatened to kill both her and Deborah because police were questioning his family. He called her a third time in November and offered to return Deborah in exchange for $2,000 in cash, money Norelle didn't have. According to her, at one point Shepard told her the next time she saw Deborah would be in a pine box. Shepard denies ever having made that statement. Shepard was arrested in Tennessee in late 1985, but he didn't have Deborah with him. He claimed he returned the child to his mother's care in December of 1984, but Norelle said this wasn't true and none of Norelle's relatives have seen Deborah since her initial abduction. Shepard was convicted of child abduction in 1986 and sentenced to 3 years in prison. He was released in 1987 after serving less than half his sentence, and in order to produce the child in court within 3 days. After he failed to do so, he served 10 years and 3 months in jail for contempt of court for refusing to divulge where his daughter was located. This may have been the longest recorded sentence for contempt of court in United States history. Shepard repeatedly said he left Deborah with Norrell and didn't know the child's whereabouts, but the courts did not believe him. Norrell said she believed Shepard refused to disclose Deborah's location because he wanted her to suffer. Deborah's social security number hasn't been used since September of 1984. Norrell died of kidney failure on January 24, 1998, of age 45. She left behind 3 other children besides Deborah. Shepard was released from jail a few days after Norrell's death and maintains his innocence to this day. Deborah's whereabouts remain unknown, and her case was closed after Norrell's death. The kidnapping of Gabrielle Johnson in 2009. Baby Gabrielle was abducted by his mother Elizabeth Johnson in 2009. Miss Johnson was sentenced to prison in 2012 for unlawful imprisonment, custodial interference, and conspiracy to commit custodial interference. She admitted to killing the boy, but later changed her story. Some people who had contact with Miss Johnson after the abduction believe Gabrielle was adopted and is now in a better place, but nobody knows for sure. He is still officially missing and feared dead. The abduction and possible murder of the Skeelton boys in 2010. The Skeelton boys went missing over Thanksgiving weekend at the hands of their father, John Skeelton. He told investigators that the children will hibernate until they graduate, but they are feared dead due to the discovery of Google searches before the kidnapping, such as how to break a neck. Mr. Skeelton also told authorities that he wrapped each boy in a blanket, gave them a stuffed animal, placed them in his van, and drove them away. Skeelton has also been detained at an Ohio hospital where he's receiving treatment for an alleged suicide attempt. The boy's family reacted with understanding but disappointment after hearing about the plea deal. Family spokeswoman Kathy Hara said the family supports all the decisions made by law enforcement. This is just a sense of discouragement that John will not get the sentence he deserves. This will not be over until the boys are home. The boys were last seen on Thanksgiving before they were supposed to be returned to their mother, Tanya Skeelton. John Skeelton and his wife were estranged at the time and now divorced. In exchange for the no contest plea, prosecutors dropped a kidnapping charge. But Skeelton acknowledged he still could face more charges later. Mr. Skeelton faces up to 15 years in prison when he is sentenced September the 15th. It's been 10 years since Timothy Pitzen disappeared from Aurora. On the morning of May 11, 2011, Timothy's mother, Amy Pitzen Fry, picked him up from his Aurora Middle School. She told school officials there was a family emergency, but there wasn't. Instead, she took the then 6-year-old on a trip. The two went to the zoo, a water park, and then finally a resort in the Wisconsin Dells. 2 days later, the Pitzen Fry was found in a Rockford, Illinois hotel. She had died by suicide. She left a note behind saying Timothy was safe with someone who loved him and he would never be found. In a world where parents spend countless hours teaching their children to be wary of strangers, it's heartbreaking that they can be kidnapped by someone they love and trust. But it happens every year, and is often centered on disagreements over child custody. If you have any information on any of these cases, please call your local authorities who can direct you to the correct place to be calling. But I shall hopefully talk to you in the next video.